Hi, I want to talk about now, how many bipolar people here um, have thought like, why does my psychiatrist act like being happy is against the law, or like being happy is a mania automatically, or like being happy or energetic at all is something that we shouldn't do, that we shouldn't risk, that kind of thing. I mean, like, it's to the point where like some psychiatrists will literally like say like, oh, you're getting a little up, here, I'm going to increase your medication. I mean, like, it's like, they don't want to risk you getting manic, but in the process they don't even want you to even go near happiness. And one psychiatrist I had actually told me that he'd rather, me be a bit depressed than a bit manic, or because he thinks the manic is going to go up but the depressed isn't going to go down, like. But I mean, he has prescribed me antidepressants when I was depressed, so like it's not like he just would let me suffer or stew in it. But um, he would like say multiple times that that like if I was like a little up, then like he wouldn't trust that, like that he like he would rather me be like a little down than be too speedy, even if I was just speedy, even if I wasn't manic but I was just a little speedy, like speaking in that, you know and even if I was manic, though, isn't that better than being depressed? I mean, it is. I mean, I'm sorry, but like, quality of life matters. And as long as we're not harming anybody else, and even if we are, then there's got to be some other solution. It can't, and I wasn't harming anybody else, just so you know, but like, there's got to be some other solution, because you can't be like, just, zombifying people, and they're gonna stop taking those medications anyway. If they're too zombified, and then they get like, speedy again, and then what the psychiatrist then does is, oh, I'm taking away your antidepressant, you're too speedy, because they've already put a bunch of mood stabilizers, antipsychotics to, you know, they put a bunch of those things to make the person less speedy. Mm, but they then like they then just, like, they leave the antidepressant at first, and then sometimes they just take it away, but then later, okay, you're still speedy, I'm taking away your antidepressant, and then the person is just depressed like after. But then, oh, no, but we can't give you the antidepressant back, it'll make you manic. And that's like not a catch-22, but it's just a problem, because well, it's like saying, you don't deserve to be happy because you're mentally ill. And even though a lot of them did not mean that at all, and maybe they just didn't know what they were doing, or maybe they, like, they were making a mistake. I mean, it is a mistake to, think that, or to, like, act on the thought that, that any speediness, any enthusiasm is mania, or hypomania even, or leading to mania, or going to be hypomania and then mania, or anything like that. Some sort of, precursor of like mania, and it's not a lot of the time. It really isn't a lot of the time. Sometimes the person's just having a moment of emotion about something else. Sometimes the person is just like, and then we have to like explain it or else, like, and that kind of sucks, because like we have to explain it or else. And then like sometimes, like, especially if the person is like, in the psychiatric hospital, whether they're there for mania or not, it's like they would rather the patients be zombies rather than, like, them they be too energetic, because then, oh, what if they, revolt up on us or something, like they've been watching too much movies or too much TV or something, the staff there, or the psychiatrist, like, it's like they think that if the patients get too much, they're gonna revolt or something, like, I don't know. And even if they do, so what? They're locked up in a place where, like, because they're locked on a unit, their mobility is restricted by being locked on that unit. So of course, even if they did revolt, I wouldn't blame them. But most of the time they wouldn't. They would just, if you cooperated with them, they talk a lot about us cooperating with them. But what about if they cooperate with us? I mean, we're people too, and and it's about our brains. So like yeah, so they can't be telling us all the time, you know, oh, you need to cooperate with us, because, well, are you cooperating with us? And I wouldn't like try and like change your brain chemistry, and if you, I mean, like, in a way that you didn't, like, wasn't okay with. that you weren't okay with. Um, so like, I mean, that's why so many people just start like using their medication in a way that they, think it works better than ways that the psychiatrists like, prescribe them. And sometimes they're right. I'm sorry. Sometimes the patient, doing that is right. You know, and I'm not saying they always are. I'm just saying sometimes the patient doing that is right. And because people are so like, they don't want, I don't know, some psychiatrists are against anything that seems crazy or outlandish or eccentric or I don't know, anything that seems, crazy, including crazy fun or crazy manic or crazy enthusiastic. They see it as nuts, and or they see it just as like, about to do something stupid, about to do something nuts, about to do something irresponsible, when that's not always the case, and a lot of the time it's not the case. Um, and or if it keeps going this way, the person's going to do something that's not right or whatever, or they're going to crash later. Now that I understand, like, yeah, oh, they're using up all their energy now, and they're going to crash and be depressed and be suicidal or whatever. But I mean, but it goes both ways. I mean, it can also go where I've been depressed for so long that I just want to, I want to have happiness for a change, and I'm going to keep that happiness and have that happiness when I have it, when I finally do have it. I mean, with somebody who's been depressed and laying around all the time, suddenly gets a burst of energy. They want to use that. They don't want that to be kind of wasted. They don't want to, it to be medicated. They don't want it to be, suppressed when they've been waiting so long just to feel good again or to feel decent again, even. And so it's complicated, and there's other factors too that make it complicated. Stuff that I don't even remember right now, but it's just like, people need to realize that. Well, people need to remember that, like, it's okay to be happy. It's okay and necessary. I mean, it's quality of life. It's a quality of life issue. Who wants to be laying around all the time, depressed or too medicated, not necessarily depressed, but too medicated to do anything, and like, and then as soon as they finally get this a little bit of energy, sometimes it's not even a burst of energy, it's just normal energy, but then they get so happy that they just have that little bit of energy that then that gives them more energy, so it appears that they're manic. And that's happened to me where I was so happy to have just a little tiny bit of energy back that I just appeared manic because I then got more energy from the happiness of having that little bit of energy back. So then I appeared hypomanic, and oh, okay, here I'm increasing this. I'm increasing your mood stabilizers, and sometimes I would take them, sometimes I wouldn't, and um, the times that I didn't, I was glad sometimes that I didn't, because I had spiritual awakenings, that I might not have had. I don't know, maybe I would have had them anyway. I had a lot of spiritual awakenings while very, very heavily medicated on mood stabilizers and antipsychotics and, stuff that, normally would sedate somebody. So I'm not saying that it matters that you have to be unmedicated to, have a spiritual awakening, because that is so wrong. I mean, you do, you can't, if you're ready for them, if you're ready for spiritual awakenings, and like, mystical experiences, if you're, as Elizabeth Kubler-Ross even said, if you're ready for them, you're going to have them no matter what, and me and my husband, we did have them no matter what. We were both heavily medicated, and we still had them, didn't stop anything from happening, in that department. And because spiritual awakenings, well, they trump everything. It's the higher power. But mm, that can do anything, that's possible. So it's different. But uh but like to but another thing is, like, when somebody starts talking about God and reincarnation. I mean, I was talking about that on Facebook, and a guy from a mental health group that I was on Facebook, saw fit to warn me that I was getting manic, and I wasn't. I was getting depressed over stuff in my life, but I was talking about reincarnation and God, and that stuff made me feel really good in the moment. And that was, like, interpreted as me, maybe going up too much and being manic. And so yeah, it's just, it's better to like just wait it out a little bit, see if the person's actually manic, you know. If they're actually manic, then the meds will work on them at any time. There's no rush, you know. They're not going to do something stupid that quick if you just, you know, pay attention to it and just like catch it like early if it actually is mania, you know. And sometimes it does spring on people by surprise because they keep their mania in their head because they don't want to be, you know, medicated for it, you know, which they will be whether they like it or not if they end up involuntarily in a psychiatric unit and if they're also, you know, forced by a court to take medication, which I've never been forced by a court to take medication, but I have been, you know, forced into a psychiatric unit and pressured, you know. and but you know, and sometimes they don't let you out until you take it or whatever. And so like sometimes it does happen very fast where, you know, one moment they seem perfectly normal or aka sedated, you know, and then the next moment they're swinging from the chandelier, you know, because finally they couldn't keep it in any longer, you know, because they're trying to keep it in so that people don't see them as too happy, because if they see that happiness they're going to steal it from them, you know. If they see that they're too happy they're going to say, oh, you're manic, here, take this, you know, or else, you know. And well, not always or else, but a lot of the time it is or else, or it's implied to be or else, or it's implied, or even if it's just brainwashed or else, as in like, oh, you're gonna do something horrible if you don't take this, and some people will believe it, you know, they'll believe like, you know, oh God, I'm gonna go nuts if I don't take this, you know, so they take it, but then they end up zombified or like, you know, lobotomized, whatever you want to call it, you know, from the medication. And you know, sometimes when I, you know, would go off of them, I felt like I had my brain back. Like I like saying that that I feel like I have my brain back when I you know, when I go off of like certain heavy things. So I feel like I can, like, you know, talk articulately again, and I feel like I can like know what I feel, and I'm in touch with my feelings again, and I'm in touch with my thoughts again, and it's something that not I wasn't always like and I can remember what I'm saying. I don't forget what I'm saying halfway through a sentence, or forget the point of what I'm saying halfway through a sentence. So that's good, you know. But I didn't think that I even had a fucking brain. Like I was on medication for so long, like ever since I was 20, ever since I was 19. But when I was 19, I was just on antidepressants, you know, because like I was just, you know, pegged as depressed, not as bipolar. But then when I was 20, I was diagnosed with bipolar, and ever since then, I've been on and off, you know, certain stuff, a lot of different medications for bipolar, and so, you know, they they sometimes did the, like, you know, zombifying or lobotomizing kind of effect, and I didn't, and it creeps up on you. You don't notice at first because you take one dose, it's nothing, but then you've taken 10 doses and you're gone, and then you don't notice until you miss a dose by accident or something. Or miss a few doses by accident, and then oh, that's what it's supposed to be like. Oh, now I have my brain back again. I can think again. I didn't realize what I was missing, you know. And so like, you know, and like it's like when you're bipolar, you feel you don't deserve to be happy because you might be manic. You feel like you don't like you shouldn't, like people think you don't deserve to be happy. You feel like you know, like you're always scared that when you're happy it's actually mania. You're always scared that when you're, you know, happy it might turn into mania. You're always scared that like you don't deserve happiness because, or don't need to be happy, or, you know, something like that. Some sick, that's what's sick, you know. That is what is really sick, when people say that somebody doesn't deserve to be happy, or doesn't deserve to feel decent, or doesn't deserve to, you know, feel like they can function, you know, or feel like they can express themselves, or to be able to express themselves. mm. No, that is what's really sick here. That is what is like the real disorder here. And I don't mean to be stigmatizing anybody, including the psychiatrist who really has the disorder, but like that disorder, though, the disorder of not believing that everyone deserves happiness, or not realizing that what they're doing is banning people from being happy sometimes, you know? Um, and that's not always something they're doing on purpose, but they're doing it. And mm, so, well, right now, I'll give a few examples. So, like, for example, I'll give some real life examples that actually happened to me and to people I know. So, like, for me, I remember all I did once was, like, you know, was talk fast and talk a little bit about plans I had, like writing a book, which I've been doing a long time. I've been writing books a long time. Some of them are finished, some of them aren't. I haven't published anything yet, anything like, but like, mm, and I was just talking about like, like feelings and that, and I was a bit more able to express myself, but not much at all. And the psychiatrist wrote in the report of having seen me slight mania or mild mania. Excuse me, how does he know I'm manic when everything else in my life was perfectly like normal and everything? Like everything for me anyway. Like everything else in my life was not manic, but just I'm speaking fast, and talking about like anything other than having any sort of like ambition at all. And another time I was like, talking about making plans, going to this. No, I was kind of hypomanic then. I hadn't slept in a few days. I was, but I wasn't manic. I was hypomanic. So you called it manicky. But I was just like, I haven't slept in. Yeah, okay. When did you last sleep? Oh, a few days ago. That's okay. I'll eventually sleep. I was just drinking a lot of coffee. That's why I wasn't sleeping. It wasn't because I was manic. And all I have to do is stop drinking so much coffee when I get too physically tired and just want to sleep. But and I was also just making a lot of plans, like to do things, like to finish my books, get them published, join various like clubs and support groups and discussion groups and the Unitarian Universalist Church and you know which I've never got around to actually joining, but like I do want to, and I'm going to, and I identify as a Unitarian Universalist. But like anyway, I was just talking about all my plans and like plans to start an organization, plans to like meet certain people, like like certain friends of mine in the United States. I'm in Canada. Like when I had the chance and everything, and I was just mentioning like maybe taking a course or two. I mean this normal stuff. I mean most people do have a lot of things going on in their life a lot of the time. I mean it's not most people maybe, but a lot of people do have a lot of things. I didn't even have those things going on in my life. I was just planning it. So what's so manic about that? But because I was talking fast, oh, you're manic. Okay, well, I'm taking away your antidepressant now. you know, no more antidepressants for you because you're bipolar. Like, and but sometimes you need them. Even if you're energetic, you can still be depressed, or even if you're energetic, you can still be depressed without them, whereas you're fine with them. Just because you're feeling good, on antidepressants does not mean that you don't need them. Maybe you're feeling good because of them. I mean, even the psychiatrists say that. They say, like, just because, don't stop your antidepressants just because you feel better. Maybe you feel better because you're on them, and so there's kind of a double standard there where they can say that, but we can't. And, I know it's up to the situation, but it's also up to, like, unfortunately, it's up to the psychiatrist's judgment whether he wants to keep prescribing an antidepressant or, if the person's that depressed, like, but he won't prescribe an antidepressant because he thinks it's irresponsible to do so on a bipolar person. The bipolar person ends up going elsewhere for their up. A lot of the time, and I've never gotten something off the street or anything like that. Like I don't do that, but I don't judge people who do that. Because um, I don't judge people who do that. They like they do it for a reason. Everybody does things for a reason, and I can't judge them. They're trying to alleviate suffering, and they're trying to alleviate depression. They're trying to alleviate lack of motivation. They're trying to alleviate loneliness. Um, they're trying to alleviate like to get enough motivation to do something about it. And a lot of the time, and some people will share their medication, or they'll get something illegally, or they'll just overtake their medication and then run out, unfortunately, because they use their own supply. But it just was not. It just like you're encouraging them to do that when you won't prescribe them an antidepressant when they're depressed just because you're afraid that they're going to get manic. I mean, you're encouraging them to look elsewhere for their not for their fix, because they're not necessarily like addicted. Maybe they're not addicted at all. Maybe they just need something to like a stimulating something, and even if it's not the best thing to do, and they know it's not the best solution, but the psychiatrist is refusing to give them the better, answer, the better solution, because the better solution would be legal, safe antidepressants, but the psychiatrist is refusing to prescribe them because, you're going to get manic if you take those because you're bipolar or because you're already, a little bit speedy. But maybe I'm speedy because I'm just spitting it all out. I'm trying to spit it out. I'm trying to get it all out because it's been stuck inside me for so long, and I'm panicking trying to get it out. And that's why I'm speedy. It's not always mania, it's sometimes panic. And panic is when I'm so scared. And a lot of the time, I was so scared that I would just, pass out from all the meds and just not be functional. And, like, that I just overcompensated in a way and was trying to stay awake by pacing, drinking coffee, whatever. And doing whatever, things, not like drugs or anything, but like just other things, just trying to not being a non-functional or whatever. But that was seen as mania. But when really it was panic about being the opposite of manic. I was depressed. I was unmotivated. It's like, just because you have the gas to drive to the gas station does not mean that you do not need the gas at the gas station. It actually means you need it very much, or else you wouldn't be driving to the gas station. Often you're using the last gas you have to drive to the gas station. It's the same thing as with, mania, and depression, where, it's not manic sometimes. Sometimes it's not mania. It's where literally you're using the last energy you have to tell people that you have no energy, and that comes off as you having a lot of energy because it's like the burst of light before before it goes out or whatever. But that's why it does that. Because it's looking desperate. It's using the last of itself to try and find more before it can't anymore. And that's not mania. That's actually depression, and that's actually panic. That's trying to make you, get something before you think it's going to be too late. And so I think that's what I have to say about, psychiatrists sometimes thinking it should be against the law. It seems they think it should be against the law to, be happy, or that it's always mania when somebody's happy if they're bipolar. And often people will get diagnosed with bipolar just for being a bit speedy or something, and then being a bit depressed, or even if, so anyway, if I have more to say, I'll just say it in a different one. But this is part one of one so far, but of maybe more later about that. So, like, thanks for listening. I'm glad that I got that out, and I'm going to make some more now.